So some of our Eat Fit partners aren't actually restaurants at all, but they are local companies that have some really cool products. And one of those is Andi Lynn's Pure and Custom Formulary. And on the line with us is founder, creator, owner, CEO, as she calls herself, boss lady, big cheese, depending on the day, Andrea Leyerle. So you do all kinds of really cool things. You and I first connected with your apple cider vinegar product, and I'm a huge fan of apple cider vinegar. We've done a full podcast episode on that for our listeners. If you're curious, search in our library and you can hear all about apple cider vinegar. But Andrea, you have a fire tonic version of apple cider vinegar. So tell us about that, and you've got a bunch of different kind of wellness and nutrition strategies that you use with it.
Yes, absolutely. Our fire tonic is a local expression of a traditional type of a tonic. And depending on what part of the country that you visit, you'll find a local expression or a local version of something that's called fire cider. There is a long traditional history of vinegars, herbal vinegars, infused vinegars. This expression is a raw apple cider, and we take and we grate and we macerate root vegetables and a pepper blend. We macerate that in the raw vinegar, which is basically a fancy word for soaking. We do that for about a month, and then we press it through a stainless steel version of an apple press or a jelly press. So we extract all of the liquid away from the vegetables. And what you get is a very spicy, energizing, alive type of a tonic that is rich in bioavailable minerals and just is a zesty, energizing, wellness, feel-good shot in your mouth.
So it's a apple cider vinegar plus a bunch of it's like a spicy savory version of an apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar kicked up about 100 notches. But we have an 8-ounce bottle and a 16-ounce bottle. There's about 4.5 pounds of vegetables that are grated and macerated in that 16-ounce amount. So you're getting ginger and garlic and onions, peppers, turmeric.
And we've used it before in salad dressings. The recipe that's actually featured in our Eat Fit cookbook is a fire tonic Virgin Mary. So basically a virgin Bloody Mary using your fire tonic, this apple cider vinegar in there. And you also use it as you're doing traditional bone broth. So tell us that as far as how you would make that at home. And
yes.
For those who aren't familiar, bone broth is a higher protein version of a regular chicken broth or chicken stock because it's simmered for so long. The collagen and the protein is pulled from the bones, and so you actually get a lot, 7 to 10 grams of protein in every cup of bone broth versus none or one for traditional broth or stock. So bone broth is already really nutritious. So tell us how to use apple cider vinegar for making our own.
Absolutely. What is recommended when you are making your bone broth is to add a splash of vinegar, and they'll say to add maybe a citrus to it, but I think that makes your broth taste funny, so I don't do that. I just put a splash or a dollop, maybe a couple of tablespoons would be the most that I would do in a 10-quart stock pot if you're trying to be technical about it. And the idea for that is that it pulls out more of the bioavailable minerals in your stock. So if you can buy rotisserie chicken and you can boil water, you can make bone broth. And one caveat of that is if you prefer your broth to be clear, there is a part of the process where you're not going to bring it up to a full rolling boil. You'll keep it and hold it at a bare simmer. But basically, the idea is that in the bone, in the marrow, in the tissue of the different bones that you're going to use, you're getting glucosamine, chondroitin, omega-3s and 6s, zinc, selenium, calcium, magnesium, potassium, all those wonderful things. And just like you said, Molly, you're you're getting the collagen, turns into gelatin when you cook it, and that's a building block for healthy joints, healthy hair, skin, your nails. And you can control the sodium content if you make it at home, which I think is a really nice advantage. So you just take 2 carrots, 2 sticks of carrots, 2 sticks of celery, 1 onion, and then I say chicken, so you'll boil your chicken for about an hour and a half. Or if you have rotisserie chicken, you'll just clean your chicken, and then you'll put all of anything you didn't eat back into the pot. Bring your water up. Again, if you want your broth to be clear, leave it at a bare simmer. But if you don't mind it to be cloudy, you can bring it up to rolling boil. And then I hold mine at a bare simmer. So when you look in your pot, every once in a while, a bubble will pop up. That's a bare simmer. And for chicken, it's recommended to hold for a full 24 hours to extract all of the available properties of the bones. If you want to get fancy with it, you can get some knuckle bones or some beef feet, and you can roast those in the oven first, then for about an hour, like 400. Pull that out, scrape the drippings off, and then again start with the same process. When you're done, you have a delicious, rich, mineral rich, healthy. I'll do a cup of herbal tea in the afternoon, or I'll take and warm a cup of broth, and it's just nourishing, and it's like a treat for my soul. I will can my broth. I'll put it in some plastic containers and put it in the freezer, or you can freeze it in ice cube trays.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they set, take the ice cubes, put them in a Ziploc bag, in a gallon bag, and then you can just pull out a few at a time to flavor whatever you're cooking, your vegetables or any other type of a recipe. That's how I use bone broth.
And so you're taking the time to make it. It might be a 24-hour on the stove, but then you're saving it for use later. And then similar with herbs and talking about preserving fresh herbs, I've seen this done with olive oil or an avocado oil, where if you've got all these fresh herbs that you purchase for a recipe, but you only need a little bit of it, and you've got this
Mm-hmm.
whole bundle, chopping it and then freezing it in ice cube trays with some olive oil, and same thing, pulling it out. But you also use apple cider vinegar for this.
Yes, and that is actually an alternative to preserve herbs. And if you're interested in using herbs as medicine, a great way to deliver the benefits of those herbs is to soak them in apple cider vinegar. You can pack a mason jar about 2/3 full of any type of a fresh herb, and then cap it with raw vinegar. Let it sit in a cupboard for 2 to 3 weeks, and just shake it whenever you think about
Not
it.
refrigerated, just in the pantry?
No, just in the pantry is fine for that first 2 to 3 weeks. You're gonna want it to stay room temp, and you're gonna want all of the flavors to marry. You're gonna want to be able to get all of your benefits out of your herbs. But after you filter it, so pour it through a cheesecloth or a tea towel. At that point, you can keep your vinegar in the refrigerator, and it should keep in the refrigerator for a minimum of 6 months like that. If you use fresh herbs, dried herbs, you don't have to put it in the refrigerator after you separate the herbs from the vinegar.
And so when you're doing it with the vinegar, as you're saying, you then are taking the herb, you're straining the herbs out. So it's really
Yes.
more of a way that we're infusing that apple cider vinegar with basil or thyme or whatever we happen to have on hand that we didn't want to waste. I love that. So also, I think a lot of people want to incorporate apple cider vinegar on a daily basis. There's so many, health benefits or reasons to do it, but it's sort of like punishment for them.
It doesn't taste good by itself.
Right.
It really doesn't taste good by itself. So if you can help it out a little bit and throw some basil in there or throw some rosemary in there, it's just an easier way to get it in.
I love that. All right. Great, great tips. Thank you so much, Andrea. And then for those who are in the South Louisiana area, you can find the Andi Lynn Fire Tonic in a lot of our local markets, grocery stores. But you also said that you're going to start selling on Amazon soon as well.
That is right. We
Perfect.
are wrapping up the last bits of our organizational process, and we are actually preparing our first shipment to go to Amazon. So you can be looking for that. And then my website is andilynns.com, ANDILYNNS.com. You can shop online. We ship all over the country.
Fantastic. So when we're talking apple cider vinegar, you can find, traditional apple cider vinegar in your store and, experiment with the herbs, as Andrea was saying. Use it to do your bone broth if you're making that. But if you want to try the fire tonic that she was mentioning, those are the ways that we can get it through Amazon or through her website. So awesome. Thanks so much, Andrea.
Thanks for having me, Molly.